starting Be'ez Hashem Simon Yud Beis in haGuela. And this is continuation of the subject of that miracles don't happen for Rishaim. Okay? And actually he's going to prove even further here that miracles only happen for tzadikim gemurim. So listen to this. Because of Ramban, B'soif Parshas Ekev, V'zel Shoinoi. This is on Kriya Shema, on the second parsha of Kriya Shema, where it says, Li'avo es Hashem Elokeichem u'li'avdoi b'chol levavchem u'b'chol nafshechem. Okay? V'nasati metar artzechem b'ito ayoyer malkoish. The Ramban says like this. Ubir ho'inyan ki Hashem lo yasa anisim tamid laseis metar ha'aretz b'chol eis yoyer u'malkoish. It would be good to see the whole Ramban, because he's going on a question that Rashi brings up. Rashi brings up that it says by the Yachid, by the first parsha of Kriya Shema, it says V'yohavto es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha b'chol mevodecha. Yeah? And by the second parsha, it says B'lashon Rabim, it says b'chol levavchem b'chol nafshechem. So why did the Torah change to Lashon Rabim? And also, what's the difference between the two parshias? So Rashi says like this. Hey, look at this Ramban. This is the Ramban, and he quotes Rashi. B'chol levavchem b'chol nafshechem v'aloi kvar hiskir b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha ela azhara liyachid v'azhara letzibur. Lashon Rashi Misifri. The first parsha of Kriya Shema is said to the individual. The second one is said to the tzibur. Ubir ho'inyan. The Ramban explains now. Ki Hashem lo yasa nisim tamid laseis metar ha'aretz b'chol eis yoyer u'malkoish. He says, Hashem doesn't do nisim always to give rain at the right time. Ulo haisif b'dagan u'v'tirosh v'yitzar, and to give an abundant crop. Ulo harbois gam ho'esev b'sad l'behema, and to give grass to the animals. Or shiyatzra shemaim, or fakert, if they do averis, he won't do a nes to stop the rain. V'yevashu rak al ma'aser roiv ha'am. He'll only do this if the majority of the people are either being good or being bad. Aval yachid hu b'schusa yichya v'hu ba'avoino yamus. The yachid will live by his own schusim and die by his own averis. So far, what is the Ramban saying? He's saying like this, that in the pasuk it says Lashon Rabim, it says B'chol Avavchem, and then it's followed by this punishment or reward, right? If you do what Hashem wants, you'll get rain and whatever. And if you don't, then he'll stop the rain. So, Zak the Ramban, why didn't it say that in the first parsha of Kriya Shema? First parsha of Kriya Shema, it says doesn't say v'nosati metar artzecha be'ito yoyer malkoish, right? It only says that by the Rabbim. Why? Because a yachid is not zeicha to a nes like that. A nes like that, where Hashem gives rain or takes away rain, only the Rabbim is zeicha to that, not the yachid. Okay? And then he finishes off and says, but the yachid who b'schusa yichya, he'll live by his own schusim, v'hu ba'avoino yamus, and he'll die by his own averis. So the Choy the Ramban is being soiser. He's contradicting himself, because he started out saying Hashem only does nisim for the majority of the people, roiv ha'am, and now he says no, the yachid also gets a nes that he lives or dies. So what's going on in the Ramban? This we'll have to know, and then let's finish up, and then we'll try to get shot. So then the Ramban says, V'hinei Omar, ki ba'asoisem kol ha-mitzvahs mi'ava, shleima, when they do all the mitzvahs out of love of Hashem, yaseh imahem es kol ha-nisim u'eile l'toiva. He'll do miracles for them. V'yomar ki be'oivdim avodah zara, yaseh imahem ois l'ra. When they do avodah zara, he'll do a punishment. V'da, ki ha-nisim lo yeyasu l'toiva oy l'ra, rak l'tzadikim gemurim. Nisim happen, whether for good or for bad, they only happen to either tzadikim gemurim or the rishaim gemurim. Aval abeinoinim, but average people, kederech minhagay shel olam yaseh bohem. Hashem will punish them according, or reward them according to the way of the world. Yaseh bohem toiv oira, kedarkam v'chali loisam, based on their deeds. So they will get rewarded and punished, but only based on the minig olam, based on the way of the world, not based on nisim gemurim. So what's going on here? So to understand this, you have to look at a different Ramban. Ramban in Parshas Bechukoisai. Ramban says on the brachas, at the beginning of Parshas Bechukoisai, it says, "Im Bechukoisai teilechu, nosati gishmeichem beitam." I'll give you the rain in its season. Yoyer malkoish. It says, "Nosati gishmeichem beitam, v'nosna haaretz yevula." So on this, the Ramban says like this: "V'hinei habrachas ho'ele kefi pshutam ime yoisam rabois klalios." It says these brachas are general brachas for the whole people. Kinyan amater v'asoiva v'ashalom v'peri v'rivya einan kemoya brachas sheberach kvar b'ktzara es lachmecha v'es meimecha v'asiroisi machla mikibecha. The Ramban's asking, what's the difference between these brachas in Bechukoisai and the ones in Parshas Mishpatim, where it says, "V'irachas lachmecha v'es meimecha," He'll bless your bread and your water and take away sickness from you. What's the difference? Zakter kisham yavtiach b'maychol mishteh v'shiyeh levracha. He promises there'll be food. Ad shelo yera shum choyli, people won't get sick. B'gviyasenu v'alkein hayu klei azera shleimim ubriim v'noiled kahagun. People will have children properly. V'nichye yamim maleim, will live full lives. K'moish Amar lo yisiyem shakel v'akar b'artzecha es mispar yamecha malei. V'chein Amar tchila ki ani Hashem roifecha. I'll heal you. There it's talking about personal wellness. And the atam bazeh ki abrachas hahein, those brachas afal pi shehem nisim, even though they're miraculous, hem min anisim hanistarim. This is the key words. Those brachas and mishpatim are hidden miracles. Shekol haTorah malei mehem. The whole Torah is full of that. Kasher pirashti vehem afilu v'yachid. However, ki kasher yiyeh ho'ish hachasid shomer kol mitzvahs Hashem ulekav yishmereyu hakel hachoili v'akaras v'ashikol v'imala yama b'toiva. So if a person is good, Hashem will make sure he lives long and he has a good life and he doesn't have miscarriages and whatever, right? Avol elu habrachas sheba parsha hazois, but the brachas in Bechukoisai hein klalios ba'am. They're for the whole people together. Ve'hein bi yois kol amenu kulam tzadikim. You have to be completely tzadikim to have these brachas. V'lachein yizkar tamid bekan v'nosna haaretz yivula v'shabtem levetach v'artzechem shalom b'aretz chaya roa min haaretz. The Ramban is saying a klal. He's saying that when the brachas are general for the whole people, like this, like the rain and the crops and things like that, that's called a nes nigla, and that only happens when the people are tzadikim. But a nes nister is something like not getting sick or having a refuah. Things like that are considered a nes nister. So that could happen to a yachid. So that's basically the word he's saying, that to have a nes nigla, you have to have two conditions. You have to be the rabbim, and you have to be tzadik gomer. The people have to be tzadikim gemurim, like it says, la'avdoi b'chol levavchem u'b'chol nafshechem. Right? To love Hashem and with all your heart and with all your soul. That's the high madrega. That's tzadikim gemurim. If you're zoichet to that madrega, then you get the brachas that are nisim niglim. Shenken, if you're not a rabbim, or if you're not a tzadik gomer, either way, then you're not zoichet to a nes nigla. Okay? Mm-hmm. So back to haGuela, where he quotes the whole Ramban. Last two lines of the paragraph, he says, "Muvur bidvarav hakdoshim." We see from the words of the Ramban, beferish, explicitly, believing the Tois Yom and Yismael, it's unequivocal. Shehechlit b'das Torah K'dosha. He explains this as pshat in the Torah. Shelo yasa Hashem nes l'toiva rak l'tzadikim gemurim. Hashem will not make a miracle for good unless it's for tzadikim gemurim. U'lerishayim yasa imoim ois ra. And for Rishayim, he'll do a nes for their evil, for their detriment. Okay. So back to haGuela. He says, "Muvur bidvarav hakdoshim." We see from the words of the Ramban, beferish, explicitly, believing the Tois Yom and Yismael, it's unequivocal. Shehechlit b'das Torah K'dosha. He explains this as pshat in the Torah. Shelo yasa Hashem nes l'toiva rak l'tzadikim gemurim. Hashem will not make a miracle for good unless it's for tzadikim gemurim. U'lerishayim yasa imoim ois ra. And for Rishayim, he'll do a nes for their evil, for their detriment. Okay. So you see, Klor, that a nes can't happen. A nes nigla can't happen to Rishayim, to tzadikim, unless it's tzadikim gemurim. So obviously, no one's going to claim that the Zionists are tzadikim gemurim. So the Rebbe is saying you can't say that the 67 more was a nes nigla. Okay. Next paragraph. Ugedoyle mizu lomadnu midivrei Ramban be'inyan pilegish begiva. We learn an even greater chiddush from the Ramban pilegish begiva that we quoted before. And I think this was quoted in Siman Hey. And that is, the Afagav the Shivtei Yisrael lachmu im Shevet Binyamin, even though the other tribes fought with Binyamin, l'shem Shemaim, they fought with them for a good reason, Kedei Lavar Aram Yisrael, so they were basically on the good side. They were maybe not tzadikim gemurim, but at least they were on the good side. They were trying to get rid of the evil sin from Klal Yisrael. Because they did it without permission, because they didn't ask the Urim Betumim whether to fight the war. And not only that, they relied only on their strength, their physical strength, and their numbers. They didn't ask whether they should fight this war and whether they would win the war. That they were not protesting against Micha's idol, even though they protested against this avla they did to this lady. They weren't protesting against the avodah zarah. So therefore Hashem had a time on them. Al kain heisir Hashem yisbarach hashkachastoi mehem be'ozvam leteva umikrim. Hashem took away His providence from them and left them to the natural rules of the world. K'nizker le'el b'divrei Ramban zal b'oirech. So what is he saying? He's saying like this. The Ramban in Parshas Ekev that he quoted at the beginning says Nisim only happened to Tzadikim Gemurim and in Roiv Ha'am. What kind of Nisim? Nisim Niglim. Nisim Mistarim? Yeah, could happen, even if you're not the Roiv Ha'am and even if you're not a Tzadik Gomer. If you're good, basically good, you're on the good side of the scale, you'll get a Nes Nister. But then the Ramban says that even if when it comes to war, I guess, even if you want a Nes Nister, a war, winning a war is a Nes Nister, right? Because Hashem is intervening on your side, but it's not open, it's not obvious that He's doing so. And so winning a war is Nes Nister, and the Ramban saying even that they didn't get. Even the Nes Nister they didn't get. Hashem left them to the Teva. He left it completely natural for them to either win or lose the war, and they ended up losing on the first 2 days. So, relevant to us, that the Zionists, you're going to say, okay, they didn't get a Nes Nigla by the war, but maybe they got a Nes Nister, right? So, Zakter, no, you see, the Ramban is saying that even people who are on the good side, even if you would want to argue that the Zionists are on the good side of the scale, and they're Zoicha to a Nes Nister, the Ramban is saying, no, in the Mulchama, Hashem doesn't give you a Nes Nister if you're just on the good side. If you have some Averis in your hands, Hashem will leave you to Teva. So therefore, the Zionists were left completely to the Teva, and the fact that they won the war was only because of the Teva. Okay, now, V'hinei, all the things that we mentioned before in Yud Aleph and Yud Beis about Nisim not happening to Rishonim, this is all mentioned in the words of Chazal. We could bring more and more rayas about this if we wanted to. But we don't have to. We don't have to go on and on, bring proofs after proofs. Anybody who wants to see the truth will know this. I only brought a few of the rayas because people who lost their minds and they're confused by the success of the Tzionim, I brought these rayas. They're confused meaning tzachan hamenduma, from the seeming victory. V'natu midercho emes. Al kain ya'iru l'negdam divrei Chazal k'doshim. These people should see these words of Chazal and be enlightened and understand. Maybe they'll come to an understanding of the truth. They'll open their eyes and see the true, the correct path.